What a beautiful place to fish. Let's get the day started. Before I even get the seat box out the van, I mix my ground bait. Today's mix is going to be simple. It's going to be half a bag of black bream, an old bag of, well, not an old bag, but the last of my Sensas Explosive Feeder. Explosive Feeder is just lots of crushed hemp, so I'm putting the whole kilo of that in there. I'm going to give it a good dose of some liquids, and I'm going to give it some black crumb, just to darken it down a bit. So we need some water. So I'm going to get some water from the loch here. So we have some water. This might actually be too much ground bait for today, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Some people add this to their water. I don't do that. I just add this directly to this, the ground bait, the dry ground bait. I give it a good glug. That there, that way it's pushed through the ground bait, and I give it some water. That's about right. That'll dry out throughout the session, so it's not mixed, so it's going to go rock hard. It's just going to flake apart in my hands if I touch it. You don't want it mixed so that it's sloppy. You want to put it into a feeder, and you don't want it mixed so that it's dry. You want it kind of a nice damp mix. Now that, like I say, that'll dry out throughout the session. So that'll dry out. This is why you have the spray bottle. So that's now ready. I'll let that sit for at least half an hour, and that gives me time to unload the van, get the seat box positioned, and then get fishing. Beautiful day. We're not going to be fishing too far today. We're just going to be fishing in the middle, probably about 35 to 40 metres. It's a nice deep trench. As you can see, it's sunshiny, so it's probably not the best conditions, but beggars cannot be choosers, so let's get it sorted and let's get some fishing done, eh?
20 minutes later.
Hello there. You're joining me on a day on the River Erne. I'm fishing the beautiful Crom Castle Estate. It's Wednesday, it's the middle of the week, so the boat traffic is so-so, you know. Not it could be better. It could always be better, let's face it, there could be none of it. I'm still in the process of baiting up, casting every minute with a bait up feeder. So far, 7 roach, and one of them's been smashed up by a pike. So I don't think it's going to do. I'm fishing a mix of explosive feeder, Sonubaits Black Bream, and some normal black crumb just to thicken it up. The reason I used I mixed the feeder, you seen me mixing the feed earlier on, and it was, you want to mix it at the start so it's nice and wet and it has time to absorb all the water. So the feed now will be slightly dry. You can still squeeze it, it'll still, you know, break up. But what you want is the ground bait to hit the bottom of the feeder and then kind of puff out and explode out to create kind of a cloud of attraction, so that the fish can go quite like this. This is nice. I can smell all the food, I can smell all the hemp particles, all the other stuff. Explosive feeder is basically, it's made by Sensas. It's basically lots of crushed hemp. So I'm just getting to I think I'm on number 10, casting big bait up feeders, and then I'm going to switch to a smaller feeder. I'll probably switch to something like that there today. Start getting some particles down, just to get some of the fish in. When I first arrived this morning, the place was flat calm, and it was alive with fish topping on the surface. So I'm having a good day so far. You're not going to be able to see this, but around the keep net there's hundreds and hundreds of little fry, and every now and then there'll be a perch or something comes in and smashes one or two of them up, and away it goes. But on the hooks today we have corn, maggots. I have some maggots that are put some spices on them, so they're obviously going to stand out. Sweet corn, casters, maggots, worm, and I'm fishing on the platform today. You're perched on the slips and the slipway that comes in, but it's that covered in green slime. If you were to step on it, you'd go in your arse. It's been a alright morning. I met he's a Church of Ireland reverend, a guy called Dennis. He was down chatting to me. Nice guy, you know, nice guy. He was asking, you know, about the fishing, and so we are fishing on the church side. So if you come to fish this, then you gotta be respectful, you know. Make sure you don't leave any sort of rubbish with you behind. Make sure you lock all the gates, and have a £5 in your wallet in case the minister in charge of the Church of Ireland up there comes down. A £5 is a nice enough donation for the guy to be thankful and to not ask you to move on. Because he is well within his rights if he wants to ask you to move on. But beautiful, beautiful day. I was out yesterday for a few hours. When I went down to pick up some bait, I went to the viaduct, and originally I wanted to do a feature on slider float fishing for you guys, but the wind was hacking in a bit much, so I just kind of said, well, I'll not do the feature on the slider float because it's just not the right time. The wind has changed direction. This morning when I came in, what wind there was just coming this way. Now the wind is going that way, and you can see how it's pushing the flow, or pushing the top layers of water. Normally the loch is flowing that way, but we're just getting a bit of wind. Nice to have cloud cover. It's made the day a bit less bright. Simple wee things when you're fishing like this. You got to get yourself comfortable. No point fishing on a platform and being uncomfortable. I don't know if you can see, but my keep net is staked out, so it's nice and stretched out the full 4 meters. There's it's anchored down, so it's not going to get blown in or blown around. That's the last thing you need when you're fishing, is for like the winds to change. Your keep net might collapse, it might be blown around in the wind. With the wind pushing the top layers of water, you'll find things like keep nets can easily just kind of collapse on themselves. So I have them either bank sticked out, or I have them tied to a big weight and tied out that way. At the edge of these, basically from about my rod, another rod length out, is where the reeds start. And there's a pike in there. He is, or she is, enjoying the fish that I bring in. He's made off with 3 of them so far. But nature, that's just nature. So what's going on in the world, eh? Well, finally, touching wood, the unnamed global pandemic from unspecified geographical location. Looks like the restrictions are being reduced. Life could go back to normal. The best one that I heard was some talking head dipstick on Channel 4. Now, I don't really watch Channel 4 news. I kind of don't watch the news at all because I find them all garbage humans, you know. But they were like, well, you know, just because the restrictions are being lifted doesn't mean that you run out and give your granny a hug. It's like, oh, piss off. We're bored of it now. The town where I live, the rumour going around the town that I live in, one of my favourite bars is gone. Won't ever open again. And that's sad. That's history. You know, so you've got pubs that were where everyone met. Now that's it gone. That's it away. I'm hoping that it's all, you know, nonsense and bullshit, but I've heard it from 2 different people, so there must be something there. The nightclub in Oma, where I met Mrs. S, is apparently getting turned into 4 flats. So that's going to be fun. Flats, or 6 flats, I can't remember what it is. Flats, just what this is what we need, you know, more flats in the middle of the town. That brings us up to 28 fish. I'm going to try a worm now. See if a worm will bring in a bigger fish. Changed window feeders. I'm now down to a smaller window feeder. Well, that's their large window feeder. It's a large 30 gram window feeder. And I'm going to put some grains of sweet corn in there. And then fill it up with ground bait. I like using sweet corn when I'm feeding fish. I'm putting it in through the window feeder. Normally my ground bait mix is very neutral. I want it to be a similar shade to the bottom of the system. Where I fish on the Erne, you know, I don't tend to get that much when I'm fishing with, like, if I was fishing with just normal brown crumb, I'd head the deeper water where it doesn't really make a difference. But where we're fishing here, it's not really deep. So my mix is kind of a grey, not black, but grey. And it's just enough to, that was a wee bit. It's just enough to be neutral on the bottom. I mean, like I say, it's still full of, you know, crushed hemp. There's loads of stuff in it. There's loads of stuff in it to keep fish kind of occupied and nibbling around, but by putting a few particles of corn or some casters in there, it just keeps the fish that are in the area kind of milling around looking for more things to eat. Not fishing far out. I've got a wee bush in front of me that I'm using as my marker. I'm just tightening the line up now. I'm after a bigger fish, but the quality of fish I'm getting is quite small. It'd be nice if some hybrids turned up, but again, it's a waiting game. Okay, something's better. It's a bit of a waiting game. If the hybrids, they kind of move up and down the system, you know. That's why baits like sweet corn are so important. As they're moving up and down, a big nice yellow, you know, bit of sweet corn hanging out at on the bottom of the loch. Just enough to catch their eye. And that is a skimmer. And the skimmers must like the bigger worms, so let's put on another worm and see if we can get better fish.
Just then.
12-pound Guru Shield shock leader versus Jack Pike of whatever sort of size. I don't think it was over about 10 pounds. But I got it right to the net. And the net was tickling its belly. And then it made one more lunge. Gone. Why are these pike not this easy to catch when I'm fishing for them? Right, as it's snapped off, I'm going to go through and show you how to set up a running feeder. Just got to get some stuff out of my box. Right. You will need a swivel that has a catch on it. You will need one of these. The other end is this little hook. It has a little rubber sleeve that you slide down on hook length, so you need one of them. You need one of them for your feeder to slide up and down on. I always put a little rubber stopper . One of these little rubber boys. I always put it like, 12 inches from the feeder. This is where that's the awesome pit trying to pick out the damn thing. There we go. You put your line through the little loop. You slide on the little rubber stopper thing. Again, slide it about 12 inches up the line. I can't believe I nearly got that pike right to the bank. So close! Slide on your feeder swivel. You can get little feeder beads. Matrix do them, Guru do them. I'm just using the little Preston Innovation ones. Or you could use the little rubber stoppers that you see me using earlier on. Then you just do your normal knot. remember to spit on them, the knot, just to make it loosen a bit, but the saliva loosens it. No rude jokes out there at the back about saliva loosening things. Get your minds out the gutter. And there we have it. The swivel slides up and down with your feeder. Like so. And on the other end with the little loop, that's where you tie your hook length to. So there is my dead easy, no complicated running ledger rig for feeder fishing. And because I've left them at home, I tied up a load of hook lengths last night before I came fishing, just to make the fishing a bit easier. I've got some Gamakatsu hooks, and they were tied to 0.18mm 5.5 pound fluorocarbon. I've tied 50 of them, spooled them all up with my little spool thing, and then realised when I got here, I was like, pants, they've been left at home. So I'm going to do a hook length here. You don't need, I'm fishing with 4 foot. There is the hook in the hook tire. This is a Stonfo hook tire. It's quite nice because you can spin them, which makes tying hooks a bit easier. And this is the hook length material I'm using at the minute. I use other hook length materials. I use Guru stuff. I use, again, I'll try anything. If it's good, I'll give it a go. I'm obviously going to be fishing a little bit shorter because when I was bringing the pike in, it rolled, so it managed to get up the hook length and then get the feeder round it. And you know, typical Jack Pike, they don't do anything bloody easy, do they? So I could see where it nipped me off, and it nipped me off just above the stop knot of the wee bead. The very first little rubber grommet you see me putting on there, that is where the pike bit me off. So he's out there at the minute, swimming around with my swim feeder, whatever it was I caught. I didn't even see what it was I caught. Oh well. That's just nature. been a good day. Just threading on this worm up the hook. I will tip it with a maggot. There you go. If you were a nice big bream swimming around there, wouldn't you eat that? At least I'm hoping if there's any bream out there that they might eat it. That's 5 fish I've lost to that pike. Five fish, a swim feeder. So any of you guys that are fishing down round about the Upper Lough Erne, if you catch a Jack Pike that's got a swim feeder hanging on it, then it's mine. Laughing aside, the pike will get rid of the swim feeder. The little rubber thing that you see me put up the line first. These little things, they'll eventually slide off the line, so the feeder will be lost. The thing is, when I fish here in the winter for pike, I always really struggle. The sun is directly above me because I can feel it in the back of my neck. I'm getting my arms burnt. I'm sitting on 29 fish in the landing net. So it isn't a bad day. I'm just hoping that something bigger turns up. Still pretty warm. It's actually still a really nice warm day. So this is why, if you're doing a bit of feeder fishing in the summertime and you're using it like a ground bait, one of these is a brilliant thing. Now you don't have to get Preston Innovation ones. You can get one out of the garden shop. All it is a spray. You know, you press down, it sprays. But the nozzle of the ground bait dries out because of the heat. So it pays just to keep one and give it a good soak in every now and then, just to stop it from drying out. It's great for pellets as well, but at the minute it's just been used for getting my ground bait a bit damper. Ground bait's really good. You can still form it into a ball with the slightest little push and it'll just break up in your hands. It's at that magic little point where it's almost too dry. again I'm feeding it so that when it hits the bottom, the ground bait will kind of pop out of the feeder. That's what I want. I want the ground bait to kind of make a little bit of a cloud, have little bits of stuff fizzing off it. That's why I used explosive feeder. Black Bream's full of brasum and sweet tones, you know, so it'll all fish, like the coarse fish in Ireland, Northern Ireland, they've got a sweet tooth. If you're coming here to fish, don't bring fish meals because you're wasting your time. You know, there isn't enough fish meal going into the system for the fish to have switched on to it. Okay, if you're fishing a carp pond, then they'll be on fish meal, but it isn't like it isn't like fishing in England. When I lived in England, you know, there was carp ponds that I fished match fishing, and you used disgusting things for bait. There was one that we used. There we go. That's a bit better. We used cat food. 16 meters to a fucking island, fishing a lump of cat food. Disgusting. And the smell of it would have turned your guts sideways. And as typical, you put on a worm, and what do you get? You get a perch. Oh. Come on, little perch, where is it? But that brings us over the magic 30. So now I have 30 fish in my keep net. Which by recent standards, if you've been watching my videos, that's actually a good day. There's a pheasant up by my van, and every time I went to take a picture of it, it's jumped off the edge of the slip here and into the bushes. But every now and then you'll get this thing roaring and squawking in behind me, and it's like somebody's getting murdered. And I'm not ashamed to admit that it scared the absolute shit out of me. I thought I'd left all the bird trouble at home. Then getting another perch bite here. That feels a bit better. I might have to use the landing net for this one. Or I could be brave and swing it in. Nope, I don't need to swing it. I don't need to be putting my landing net in the water. Yes, I know. Feeding worms get perch. My pike friend is back again. I managed to get the fish, but it doesn't look good. Whatever way it managed to bite it, the whole back of its head's all... So, I'm not sure how that one's going to do. At the minute it's kind of... Nah, it's belly up. Nature is cruel, folks. Nature is cruel. If anything, this pike will be well fed. Hope the fucking swim feeder gives him the shits. Bastard. Having a bit of a quiet spot. I've had nothing for the last 45 minutes. It just seems to have went dead. No matter what I try. I'm still still putting bait in and casting bait in, but it just seems to have been... It seems to have slowed down. Mr. Pike turned up again. He smashed up one of the hybrids that I managed to actually catch this one. But as to whether or not it's going to survive is... well, that's anyone's guess, really. Nature is a cruel mistress. Check me out ripping off movie quotes. The quote from the movie Rock and Roller with Gerard Butler and Idris Elba was, "Beauty is a cruel mistress." Well, nature is a cruel mistress. I tell you, it is a cruel mistress. People ask why I use keep nets when I'm pleasure fishing. I have no good answer. I use them because I can. I use them because I kind of like to have something at the end of the day that I can show you guys and say, here you go, here's what I've caught today. It has been a good day or it has been a bad day, sort of thing. I have had before where I've lost fish, like if I've tench fishing, really there's a tench or a bugger for this, where I've been fishing and I've lost a tench and then the swim just dies. An old match angling friend of mine, very old guy, I don't think he match fishes anymore. You know, he used to say certain fish like tench or bream will swim back to the shoal and panic the shoal and spook them. Now whether there's any proof to that story is, you know, anybody's guess really. Whether there's any proof of it. I don't think if you use a keep net properly, I don't think there's any problems with it. I mean, the fish are in the water, they're not doing anything that's, you know, going to stress them out. They're in a net, you know. Speaking of keep nets, I am replacing the Preston one that I use at the minute. This one isn't that bad. It's pretty good. There's still going to be bags of life left in it. But I bought a 4 meter Euro special Guru net. The sole reason I bought the net is, well, I'll show you a review of it when I get it. It's just a keep net. The ribs are weighted. They're made of metal. When I fished in Holland, there was a
I can't even remember the name of the guys that made these nets. And if I could, there's no chance of me pronouncing it because it's in Dutch. You know, but they made a net that was like in a spiral. So when you opened it, this net would push itself out. I always thought it was a very smart idea. That wasn't in a round spiral, it was like in a hexagon. So you had this hexagonal keep net that would want to push itself apart. It was a good idea. I mean, I seen the Dutch guys using them on some of the big canals. They made like an aluminium rib, and of course it would sink because it's aluminium. And the last three rings, the last three sort of spirals in the keep net, were smaller than the mouth of the keep net. So when you got to the last three, there was like a different colour of plastic dipped in it. So it wasn't just bare aluminium. It was like, say the net was green, the aluminium was like powder coated green. But once you got to the very bottom of it, it would be like there'd be like a little white section, and that'd be like so that you could hold onto this bit of the net and pull it up through. So, you know, it makes emptying the net easier and stuff like that. My occasions of fishing in Holland, Sweden, Germany, I really enjoyed fishing in Europe. You know, the Dutch guys, you know, similar attitude to like myself. Let's go and fish, then afterwards, let's have beer and have a laugh. The Germans were a bit strange, but that's just the Germans. But it was definitely an eye-opener. First day ever fishing Dutch canals. And the Dutch guys have, you know, 13 and 14 foot rods. And I got chatting to them because there was no chance of me, you know, hitting the distances those guys were fishing. They were fishing with 90 gram bullet feeders. And they were casting 100 yards to like 110 yards with a feeder. You know, at that point in time, I was nowhere near that distance. And I caught, don't get me wrong, I caught fish during the session, during the match. But the fish I caught were small, whereas the guys were targeting the bream, so they were fishing longer range. Shows you the different progression. When I watched the guys from Holland fishing the longer range, I was there thinking, there's places here in Northern Ireland, there's loads of places in the Republic of Ireland where the capability to fish a longer range with your feeder would be really good. And feeder fishing has kind of evolved an awful lot, especially in match fishing circles. It seemed to go out of vogue, you know, for a long time. You know, people were using more match angling was all pole fishing, and then companies like Preston and Guru and that, they started to sponsor feeder only sort of festivals. I suppose it's like anything. I look at the standard of the fishing rods that I'm using today and compare them to the standard of fishing rods I used as a teenager, and there's a definite change. Just gone a bit quiet after that pike smashed me up the last time. Cecil is in better spirits. You know, I've been chatting to him, and the treatment goes on. We just have to keep fighting the treatment, fighting it, and hoping the treatment helps. But from chatting to him, he's getting there. He's doing okay. I'm hoping to get him back out on the bank, because it's always a good laugh fishing with him. But I think we're probably going to have to go somewhere where you'll be fishing right beside your van, you know. That's not happening, you know, anytime soon, by the way. I've been trying to get him out a couple of times, but it's, you know, that's, cancer's fucking horrible. It really is. So thank you for all the positivity and the good wishes. It really opens up your eyes, you know. You think doing, like, you know, crap videos of me fishing and talking shit on YouTube, and for having people to, you know, send, you know, good wishes. I had a couple of guys in America send comments across, and yes, it really is. We have a nice community, you know, guys that, okay, there's arseholes too, but, you know, you're going to get them. I can see fish rising at about 10 metres past where I'm casting, and I'm not casting big ranges, you know, it's not a big cast. If I was taking today seriously, I would have had 2 rods, maybe even 3 rods set up, so that I could fish, you know, a short, medium and distant. But I'm only here for a bit of a laugh today. This is more like a reconnaissance to see if I'll come back. It's been not a bad session. That my counter, it says I have 42 fish, which will make it the best session of this year's fishing so far. Sadly no bream at the minute, and no tench at the minute. There is tench in this part of the Erne. However, it's they are like rocking horse poo, so getting hold of them is difficult.
Later.
Well, I think it's time to call it quits. It's just gone 6:30, 7:15. Since that pike smashed me up the second time, completely dead. Although the fish rising all around me. So I think everyone's wise that if they come in on that line, then there's a higher than average chance of them getting munched by Mr. Pike. So I'll pack everything down, and then I think I might weigh what I have. Finished up with 46 fish, nothing massive, but I would say I have a good 5 kilos. But I'll wait and I'll find out, you know. Let's see what we have, shall we? Let's weigh these bad boys. I've already zeroed the scales with the fucking unhooking mats, or the waistline.
Not sure if you guys can see that. 6:30, 6:28. I'll say 6:28 for the sake of got some good ones. That's probably the best of the hybrids. And that's a roach. Even got some nice perch. Aren't they good? Just release all these now. Not a bad day. Action got stopped because of the pike, but on to the next one.